Welcome to Studying with KJ. Today, we'll be going over subtracting fractions from whole numbers. Now, before we get into solving some problems, let's go over the 4 steps needed to solve these type of problems. The first step is to find the whole number and write it as a fraction. The second step is find the least common denominator of both fractions. The third step is make sure both fractions have the common denominator found in step 2. The fourth step is to subtract fractions to find the answer. So with those steps out the way, we can get to our first example problem, 6 minus 1/2. So in order to solve this problem, we must follow our 4 steps. And our first step is to find the whole number. So the whole number in this problem is 6. So now that the whole number is identified, we can change that into a fraction. And the way we change a whole number into a fraction is just putting the whole number over 1. So any whole number you see, you can change it to a fraction by putting it over 1. So now that we have our first step out the way, we can find the least common denominator of both fractions. So we have 6 over 1 as our first fraction, and 1 over 2 or 1/2 as our second fraction. So let's find our least common denominators of both of those fractions. So let's write down 1 and the first 5 multiples of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's write down 2 and the first 5 multiples of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So if we look at both of these sets of multiples for both 1 and 2, we can see that our least common multiple is 2 for both of these fractions. So as you see here, 1/2 already has a denominator of 2. So we just need to make the denominator 2 for 6 over 1. And the way we do that is multiplying 2 to both the denominator and the numerator. And when you do that, you end up with 2 times 6 is 12, and then 2 times 1 is 2. So then we can rewrite 1/2. And now, that's step 3. Make sure both fractions have the common denominator found in step 2, which is right. So 12 over 2 minus 1/2. Now our fourth step is to subtract fractions to find the answer. So the way you subtract these fractions is subtract the numerator. 12 minus 1. 12 minus 1 is 11. And then we keep the denominator the same. So our answer is 11 over 2. And if you want to change 11 over 2 to a mixed number, because 11 over 2 is an improper fraction. If you want to change 11 over 2 into a mixed number, you can divide 11 by 2. So how many groups of 2 can go into 11? 5, right? So how many more? Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10. So the remainder will be 1. And then we keep our denominator the same. So the mixed number would be 5 and 1/2. So now let's go on to our example problem 2. So our step 1 is to identify our whole number, or find the whole number and write it as a fraction. So our whole number is 4. The way we write any whole number as a fraction is by putting it over 1. Our second step, after we finish our first step, our second step is to find the least common denominator of both fractions. So let's write down our multiples of 1, our first 5 multiples of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's write down our first 5 multiples of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. If we look, our least common denominator of both 1 and 3 is 3. So we see that 2 over 3 already has the least common denominator of 3. So that means we just have to change our denominator of 4 over 1 to 3. And the way we do that is multiplying both the bottom and the top by 3. Because whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So let's bring that down here. So 3 times 4 is 12, right? Let's move this out the way real quick so we can have more space. Move 3 down a little bit. Okay, so 3 times 4 is 12. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And then you subtract 2 over 3. So bring 2 over 3 down. And then we go ahead and go on to step 4, because we just finished step 2. Step 2, make sure both fractions have the common denominator found in step 2. And our common denominator was 3. So first step is to subtract fractions to find the answer. The way we do that is subtract the numerators of both fractions. So 12 minus 2 is 10. And then we keep our denominator 3 the same. And if you need to change our improper fraction to number 3 into a mixed number, you just see how many times 3 can go into 10, or divide 10 by 3. So 3 goes into 10 3 times, right? Because 3 times 3 is 9, which leaves a remainder of 1, because you need 1 more to get to 10 from 9, right? And then we leave our denominator the same, 3. That's our answer. So let's go ahead and highlight our answers for both 1 and 2. And now on to our final answer, our final example problem, excuse me. So first step is to identify our whole number, which is 8, and then change it to a fraction. The way you do that is putting 8 over 1. Then our second step is to find the least common denominator of both our fractions, which is 8 over 1 and 3 over 4. So let's write down our first 5 multiples of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then our first 5 multiples of 4. So 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. As you can see, our least common multiple of 1 and 4 is 4. Well, that's kind of sloppy, but you guys get the point. So now that we have identified our least common multiple, we see that 3 over 4 already has, or the least common denominator, we see that our least common denominator of 4 is already in 3 over 4. So we just need to change 8 over 1, or change our denominator of 8 over 1 to 4. So we do that by multiplying the bottom by 4 and the top by 4. Then we bring that down to the bottom. 8 times 4 is 32. Sloppy. And then 4 times 1 is 4. We'll subtract our fraction, 3 over 4. And then we go ahead and then subtract our fraction. So 32 minus 3 is 29. And then we keep our denominator of 4 the same. And if you want to change this to a mixed number, you see how many times 4 can go into 29, which is 7. And 4 times 7 is 28, so you need 1 more to get to 29 from 28. So you put 1 right here as your mixed number, and you keep your denominator the same as 4. Let's see, write that a little bit better. And then let's move this out the way over to right a little bit, so you guys can see. And our final answer for example problem number 3 is 7 1/4. So that concludes today's lesson. And remember, the more you go over these type of problems, the easier these type of problems will get. Thanks for studying with KJ.